an opportunity to catch up with Janvier Litse. He's the Director of Regional Integration and Trade at the African Development Bank. And I asked him to unpack the role of multilateral development banks in accelerating regional integration.
Well, regional integration is a process, as you know. It's not a one-off activity. It's a process, and it therefore entails the participation of basically many actors, countries, and within countries, private sector, and then political bodies, and then of course we have REX, and then we have institutions like ours, basically which are financing institutions, but which are also advisory institutions. We provide advice. So I think when we came here, we didn't come basically to discuss the necessity of a need for regional integration. We came to discuss how to push the agenda forward in terms of implementation. And that's why I see our institutions playing a great role. We can play a big role in financing projects, infrastructural projects that we already do. We can play a key role in providing the policy advice necessary for regional integration to leap forward. But we also can play a key role in providing the capacity necessary for REX, basically to carry out the activities expected of them.
Speaking about financing, of course, I understand that the Africa 50 Fund has been established. What is the purpose of this fund and how does it drive this agenda forward?
As you know, the issue is not so much the issue of projects to be financed, is the issue which are bankable. So we basically have an instrument whereby we can basically produce a number of projects which have reached a level of bankability. Now, Africa Fund basically comes as a provider of resources, mobilizing the necessary resources to finance all these projects, which require a lot of resources, as you know.
Let's look at enticing the private sector to become more prominent players in the game of financing. What more should be done to ensure that we have enhanced private sector participation?
Private sector would usually operate in a setting where there is visibility, where the setting for doing business is conducive. And this is the first thing. The first thing is to do it at national level and at regional level. I think once we do that, the private sector is definitely going to be more involved in financing projects which basically go beyond the scale of a country, which go beyond the country to embrace basically the whole region where economies of scales basically are. And that's the first thing. The second thing is basically also financing. Naturally, we need to find the resources for the private sector to loom large. These are things that the African Development Bank is aiming at doing. We basically involve in financial sector. We're seeing regional integration through the prism of financial sector. We're seeing it through the prism of doing business, not at country level, but at regional level.
And of course, as this conference draws to an end on the third day, are there any takeaways that you think would inform new ways of doing business for the bank?
Well, I think the president was quite clear in his speech. He mentioned moving from a turning point to a tipping point. And this is where we should aim at. All the agenda on Africa's transformation should lead us to that tipping point. A regional integration is a full-fledged party to that process. And the ADB is going to continue doing its project work, linking countries, building bridges, trying to basically reduce the divided geography. We're going to do that, but beyond projects, we're going to provide necessary advice in issues of trade facilitation. There is no need building a highway between two countries if you get stuck at the border for a couple of days waiting for papers to clear. So this is part of regional integration. And this is where we're going to continue doing as well.
Oftentimes in politics, we have a big focus on the first 100 days in office. I'm going to throw the same curveball at you and say, what should we expect from your office 100 days, or at least 86 days now, since you've got 14 days down the bag? What can we expect from you?
I think the first thing is finishing what my predecessor has started, basically our regional integration strategy paper, which is going to set the stage for our future activities in regional integration. This has to be done. Then we have a number of flagship projects which have to go through, linking not only countries but linking RECs, because it's not basically ECOWAS and CEMAC, it's basically how we can link these RECs. I think that's key. It is important to also get a clear a deeper involvement of RECs in what we're doing. So we'll need to build these bridges in terms of dialogue between the ADB and the RECs. And this is something I'm going to basically do over the next few weeks, meeting personally all the RECs and discussing with them, see what the priorities are, which we know. But then we have to basically, there are so many things to do, but we have to prioritize and see what we can achieve.